Ladies and gentlemen, after a little gremlin, we are now. And Mag was just. I've just been saying to him. Then you should see in a minute. I start recording, and we can now see it. It's good. We started it a minute ago, just to let you in behind the scenes. We started it a minute ago. Nothing came up. We're both mildly panicking, but it's not a problem. We're past it, mate. We're past it. We're moving on. Ladies and gents, welcome to the show. I am excited about this one, about this series of shows, because as all strength sport fans will know, the man who is on the opposite side of the screen right now is a legendary figure in strength. This is a good friend of mine from back in the day, and I mean back in the day, via arm wrestling, and then we've crossed paths again through our mutual involvement in strongman. Ladies and gents, please welcome Magnus Samuelsson to the show. Former European arm wrestling champion, former world's strongest man, strength legend. Mate, welcome to the show. Really good to have you on, Mag. It really is, mate. I was saying before we went out, I'm looking forward to this, mate. How's things? How's COVID-19 life?
Thanks for all the nice words first. Well, everything is great apart from this virus thing. Otherwise, life is good.
Yeah, it's obviously it'll put things on the back burner for you, mate. We know that right now you're involved with a lot of acting, and that's your current pursuit. And you were saying on the phone the other day that you've really started to gather momentum in that area.
Well, it's starting to pick up some momentum, and like I said, it's something I really enjoy. And then apart from that, I'm just about to launch my own product line and my own company producing health products.
Okay.
Which was a really bad timing to launch anything. But here we are.
Yeah, talk about you. I mean, it is the most incredible scenario. It really is, mate. And the one thing I would say, though, is when you come out of it, you may have an opportunity to plan what your... sometimes when you get a company started, you're too busy and the rate of growth can be an issue. Maybe this gives you an opportunity to plan things, mate.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And saying this is the same for everyone. Nobody wants this. Everybody hates it. And we just have to play the cards as wisely as we can. And so... and I also think because of this, of course, the economy will be super poor for years to come. So it's not the ideal timing for anything, but here we are, and we're just going to make everything work anyway.
So for people who don't know, including myself, mate, where you are in Sweden now, how bad is this? Are you seeing it very, very bad? Is it badly affected in your area, or are you seeing less cases there?
Well, I think we pretty much are on the same ship, all of us. Sweden, we have problems just like everyone else, but they're pretty based up in Stockholm area, around the big cities.
Yeah.
And I'm far out on the countryside, so this is like the perfect spot for if you want to be isolated.
Yeah. Do a bit of hunting and fishing, not too much catching viruses.
So that's looking at on that way is no problem at all, but it's just like everything else just dead stops.
Well, I'm quite pleased about that fact, mate, right now, because what it means is we've got access to you and we can get you on the show. You otherwise be busy right now, and we'd be scrambling around to get you on. So it's kind of worked in our favour. If there's one good thing about COVID-19, it's got to be this, mate. I'm chalking on the. I want to make use of that time, Mag, if we can, mate, and let people know about you in detail, in depth. I know there's a great deal of interest out there to understand your sort of history in strength sport and the various disciplines that you've been in and excelled in, to be honest, mate. So let's just go back a little bit to the sort of beginning. So at what point were you aware that you're obviously a big man, but at what point were you aware that you were extraordinarily strong?
If I look back at during my whole school time and all that, I was always, I always knew I was the strongest guy, but I didn't really think so much about it. I just, if you're going to be a wrestling thing on the break in school, I knew I would win it, but it wasn't really something that I paid a lot of attention to. Back then, I was competing a lot in rifle shooting, and I also did a lot of tracking fields and downhill skiing. And then somewhere when my brother was around 14 and I was 16, 13, 14, he was like 13, 14, I was 15, 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
we started to train a bit. Like we went to the local gym and we tried it out, and I can't really say why. It was something with it that we just enjoyed. And then when my brother turned 14, he got a 100-kilo bar, and he got a bar and 100 kilos of weight from a grandmother.
Okay.
And we that evening we started to train with it, and this is way past when it was cool to lift weights.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nowadays everybody's lifting weights, but back then you almost need an excuse to be in the gym. You know, if you were in the gym, everybody was picking on you, and it was everything but being cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know why. It just immediately I just felt that this is something I like it. You know, I can't.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, a lot of people in the gyms, they are in the gym, especially in the old days. They were there because they were too long, too short, too thin, too fat, you know, ditched by a girl or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They were always there for a reason.
Yep.
And then there were a small group of guys that were there because they loved it. And because the world is what it is, we tend to get really good on things we love to do.
Of course you do, yeah.
And I think that's why it went like it did. The very first evening, I was 16 years old, and the first evening I did 100 kilos in bench press.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
so you benched 100 kilos when you were 15?
I was 16.
16 years old. Wow.
Yeah, the first time I tried it. Yeah, and then from there, we just had a few months where we just tried to do exercises that we have seen somewhere, you know, in muscle mags and stuff like that. And then I got a square book from my mother called from an unknown guy from Österreich back then, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yeah, that's that guy.
Yeah, I've seen him before after that. And then in that book, it were basically 3 chapters. In the first chapter, you can see a skinny kid lifting small weights and teaching about beginner's training. And then further on, there will be a slightly bigger guy lifting slightly bigger weights and, you know, explaining the route for people that have been aboard for maybe a year or so. Mm-hmm. And then the very end of the book, there were this massive guy lifting big weights, you know, the whole thing. So me and my brother said, this is pretty simple. You know, if you do the small guy program, you will turn out like a small guy. And if you do the big guy program, you will end up like Arnold. So we started with Arnold's Mr. Olympia program. So Arnold, we all know by now that everybody that writes a training book or, you know, in a muscle mag or whatever, they always kind of overrate their own value on the market. So, you know, 100 kilos turns into 140 kilos.
Yeah, slightly stronger than
into an hour and a half. And all of a sudden, everybody's making world records all the time. And Arnold took a good height of that. He made sure, you know, he was training 2.5 hours every day and stuff like that. We were young and stupid, so we actually believed all that. So we started like that, 6-7 days a week. Arnold 3-1-3 program, yeah, for the first 5 years, yeah.
And it's I mean, that tells you a lot straight away, because the fact that you dedicated that hard that early, I mean, that's commitment, mate. Very, very few kids of that age would commit that hard, you know.
But I think it has this commitment thing. I think it comes with family, because I'm born and raised on a farm where the farm is more than work. It's the obligation of the family. This is responsibility. So everything we always done has been a long-term, you know, you have, doesn't really matter if it's Sunday or Monday. It has to be done. And if I'm sick, somebody else has to do it. It's the family's responsibility. So it creates some kind of mental structure on you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I was, you know, we're good. I'm good on some things, bad on other things. But for some reason, I don't really know why. I always had very easy for sports. So when I was a kid, I was competing in track and fields, but I was not, like everybody thinks, a shot putter or a javelin thrower. I was a sprinter.
Oh, okay. So explosive power, yeah.
Yeah, and then so I did a lot of training for that, and then we went to the next sport that was rifle shooting. I was kind of mediocre on it, but my brother became national champion. And every sport we did fairly all right in. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we started lifting weights, I just gave up on everything else. Just all the free time went into the gym. And this all this happens also in a time period where you go from being a kid to be some kind of young man.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I had an incident. You know, we all meet the first girl, and then obviously after a while it fades out. And I remember I did like everybody else. I just, you know, went 100% in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day it all ended, and then I went back to myself, and I was kind of pissed. So I was saying to myself, well, from now on, I'm going to invest all the free time in the only person on earth I can trust 100%, me. And young and maybe a bit dumb like that, but it's some kind of depth to it as well. I think it's easy when you're young and actually through the whole life that you just trying to please everybody else and do what everybody else wants you to do.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I found early on that this is what I really enjoy. This is what I would like to invest all my time in. And after that, I always did. I make sure I do what I have to do, which is my work. And then I spend the free time by rank. The first thing would be the gym. And then if I get some more time off, I would probably be in the garage. And then if it's Friday, I might take the car into town. But I always made sure that the gym came first before everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And for, you know, a few years passed by, and then we slowly started to get stronger and stronger. Me and my brother, it's always me and my brother together. And our neighbor next door, Niklas. So it became kind of a routine. Up early in the morning, you work the whole day. And then my father made very clear when we stopped school and we came home and we worked on the farm, he said, you know, in this company, we don't play around daytime. So all the workout was always done in the evening.
Okay.
So up 6 in the morning, you work 12 hours and then you get back, you have a meal, and then you go to the gym. And then you will finish around 8 or 8:30.
Wow.
And that was, and if I tell somebody like that, they all think like it's a big sacrifice, but it was the other way around. It for me, that was the highlight of the day, was to go to the gym and you know, chase the horizon.
So you genuinely enjoyed that, really? I mean, people might not equate with that because you were a labouring farmer. It's a pretty physical job anyway. So to then come off something like that and into a gym for a couple of hours, pretty grueling stuff, mate. At what point did you sort of set your stall out to start getting competitive in strength? Where was your first competitive environment for strength sport?
I think the competitions kind of found me because I live way out on the countryside, and it's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that the reputations kind of spread wider if you're out on the countryside.
Yeah.
So everybody started to talk about, people started to talk about me, and somebody, and a guy not so far away from here that was successfully competing in arm wrestling, was Swedish champion back then. I remember he gave me a call and he said, you want to come over to my house? And I knew what was going on. It's going to be like the local championships. You know.
Yeah.
I just turned 18 at the time. And I was that kind of guy that I really had a working man's physique. I probably only weighed 110 kilos, but I had like solid bench press, big arms, way too skinny legs, but I could work all day long if I had to.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he called me and I went to his house and we had a cup of coffee, and then an old school arm wrestling fight like this. He's the guy they call the farmer. If you probably
Mm-hmm.
Michael Carlson, the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking around, and then when the clock hit 7 sharp, we started just like a strict arm wrestling fight. And 28 minutes later, I won.
28-minute match.
Yeah.
Holy.
I think I was behind for the first 20 of those. That is by far the longest arm wrestling fight ever done or seen.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I mean, he was very strong and he had me pretty far down the whole time. But then I hold him, and then after a while, we both were so fatigued, so you know, in cramping up and all that. So there was not so much pressure left in the end, but I won it. And then just a few weeks after that, he called me and he said, "You want to come along to the arm wrestling club and try it out on a proper table?" And I think I won the national championships in my class the same year. And that's how I started with arm wrestling. It was just more like a coincidence. And then I enjoyed it. It was good fun. It was.
What year was that, mate?
That was back in probably like 88.
Yeah. That was probably the year, I think a couple of years before I met you. I can't remember whether I met you in 89 or early 90s. I need to check my maths on that, but I know you were, I saw you at the Europeans at the Worlds. I think you were at the Worlds or Europeans. You were certainly in Geneva, weren't you? I think you went to the Worlds Geneva.
Geneva were back in 91.
That was 92, I think.
92.
Did you go to Athens, Greece?
I didn't go to Athens. I think I started just after Athens. And then the year, if I don't misremember, I think the World Championships was in Dallas, Texas that year.
Houston,
yeah.
Texas. That's where it was. Yeah.
So just before that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it was good time. Also at the time, they were a really nice bunch of people, like good characters to be around. Jonas and Andreas Rundström and some other, good arm wrestlers. And I spent a lot of time, especially with the Rundström brothers.
Yeah, they're good lads.
Good lads. Had lots of fun with those guys. And it gave strength training some kind of purpose, even though a lot of the training I did had nothing to do really with arm wrestling, but it still were. We did the gym for, whatever, it took 2 hours probably. And then after that, we just went into the next room where the arm wrestling table were. And by then we were all so tired, so we were more equal.
Yeah. There's a lot in that. It makes training much more fun.
Yeah, because otherwise it always tends to be that the biggest guys are the worst arm wrestlers because they just rely on pure power. And that the problem with pure power is it only lasts a few seconds.
How was the technical situation back then, mate? Were you, at that time, was there quite a widespread knowledge? I mean, obviously the Rundström brothers, and particularly Andreas, had his own unique style.
Yeah.
Was there, at that time in Sweden, was there quite a breadth of knowledge in terms of techniques?
I mean, it was early days. There was a guy called Pertti Krekola. He changed name after that, after a while. He was pretty before everybody else when it came to technique. He was doing the over the top and all that. Mm-hmm. So when I started, you can pretty much, by looking on a guy, tell if he's going to go in a hook or if he will go on the top. If he had any muscles on him, he would probably go for a hook. Mm-hmm. So everybody was making sure they kept back pressure so heavy so nobody could ever get into a hook. And vice versa. So but then Andreas came, and his style is a bit unique. It were, at least back then. He doesn't really hint which way he's going. It's just fairly open, and then he goes. Back then he went like halfway into a hook, and then
it was sort of sideways, but he keeps the wrist straight and through your thumb. But he has tremendous wrist strength, really tremendous wrist strength and back pressure.
And I started to play with that, and Andreas was here probably once a week, and I went over to his house probably the other weeks, so I copied a bit of it, and I was just kind of playing around with it. What happened were I won, if I don't misremember, I won the European Championships, and then I really started to find improvement, and everything was looking good. Then I went into an arm wrestling fight against a Finnish guy, a big heavy guy, and I injured my wrist for him. So it was kind of, I couldn't really arm wrestle for a few months. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I, by coincidence, ran into a strongman contest. I did pretty good there, and all of a sudden I was living a different life. So it was never. But that's the beauty of life. You always think that it's a good master plan, but looking back many times, it's not so obvious. It's not like you're going to see a crossing. If I turn left here, I'm going to end up on this spot. If I turn right, I'm going to end up over there.
Sure.
Many times in my life, you can find systems how to, adapt the situations as good as possible. But a lot of times it's just about luck.
Yeah, and when you when you'd won the which year, can you remember which year you won the Europeans in, mate?
I won it in Norway, so I would think that would have been 92.
The 92 Norway. Yeah.
Yeah,
And obviously at that time you were known for your top end pulling. You were. I mean, we used to see you lose your wrist, and you weren't the guy that had stopped pulling when your wrist was gone. You'd pull from anywhere, through people, real red line, raw farm boy arm wrestling. You had a lot of top end strength.
Yeah, and just that's how it worked. And just about in the end, just pretty much before I stopped, I tried kind of figured out a little bit how I could use my strength more effective. And yeah, so everything was looking good. But a few things happened at the same time. First off, I came home from some kind of arm wrestling contest, and I don't really know, probably doesn't really matter. I came from America at least, anyway. And then it was New Year's evening, and back over here in Sweden, where I live, there is a small club. And on New Year's evening, it's always like the people that nobody wants to have around has to go there because everybody's invited to everyone else is invited home to somebody.
Yeah.
And nobody knew I was back home, so I had nothing to do. So I went down to that place, and later on in the evening, a beautiful girl came up and she said, "I just bought myself a home gym. Can you make me a training program?" So I wrote one on a napkin, and 5 months after that, I was engaged with her, and that's how we.
That's how you and Kristen first met.
Yeah, and a few months after we were engaged, me and her, we went to an amusement park.
Okay.
Where just had a silly. It was a bench contest outside in the same town, but it was basically just a silly excuse to get away and do something. So we went, and after the bench contest, there were a banquet, and during the banquet, my wife danced with a guy that said that tomorrow they're going to have the first Swedish strongest man inside the amusement park. So she thought, well, if we sign Magnus up for that one, probably the whole gang can come in for free and claim it for
Tremendous. I love it.
Yeah, and that's how it started. So next morning, wow. I took one for the team, so I said, fine, I can do that. So I did. I entered the contest. Back then, it was pretty simple, and well, it worked. Everybody came in for free, and had a pretty good day, having fun, and I was just lifting stuff.
How did it go? How did you do in that event?
When the sun passed the horizon that evening, I won it, and
wow.
Went home. Maybe I don't know, 2-3 weeks passed, and then the phone rang, and I remember a girl called Charlotte from TWI London office. They said, "Hi, we work with this TV show called The World's Strongest Man, and we had a guy watching your contest in Skara, and we are just wondering if you're interested to go to Bahamas for The World's Strongest Man."
Unbelievable.
And I were like, really? And, I mean, when we started looking at Frank Colombo and Arnold and all these guys. But pretty early on, I realized that the thing I'm looking for is not so much the look; it's more strength. So then I changed heroes to Jon Paul Sigmarsson and Bill Kazmaier, and trying to find strongman contests on like blurry, satellite programs from America. And so I knew a lot about strongman, and in my mind, I was far away from being there already. But I also knew that I'm not done that way. So I knew that something has happened, probably like somebody's sick or somebody's injured, and they need a new guy quick. And let's give this guy a chance. And the problem with unique situations is like that is they don't come back. So if I turn it down, they won't call me back again. If I go there and be crappy, I will never get a second chance either. So simple game plan. have to be pretty good. So I went, and I think for me this is it's such a great memory thing, because you go to an event where, well, you know a little bit of it, but you never really done it, never really played with anything, just being gym strong. That's it. So I remember I bought a new belt and 1 new pair of shoes. That's the only stuff I brought with me. You know, in the end of my career, I have 2 bags full of everything you can, you know, spikes, you name it. I had everything. Back then, I showed up with nothing. And the first event was arm over arm. Never tried that. So I was just sitting by myself trying to figure out how to do it. And then I remember there was a British guy called Bill Piddock.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he came up to me and he kind of gave me, this is how you do it. Think about that, hold like that, do so and so.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I went out first and I finished the course, but it felt so embarrassingly slow. You know, the feeling where it felt like nobody can possibly be any slower than this. And then, to my big surprise, I won it. You know, I won it with quite a
margin.
Yeah. And and it was a big upset because you know we all know world's strongest man. Back then I weighed 120. I was 2 big biceps and pretty decent bench press. That's it. And I looked like somebody's coach. Like all the other guys that was running around looking like me, they were somebody's coach at that point. So, anyways, I won the first event. Big ups. Everybody was very surprised, especially me. And then next event was arm wrestling. And,
now then, I'm going to stop you there. Guys, we are going to be back with Mag. That concludes the first part of this. And I know everybody wants to hear this story because everybody knows about this story. If you what you see, guys, remember, like, subscribe, share, and we'll be back with part 2 very soon.